.NET is a runtime environment or platform providing services and extensive set of libraries to application and developers. From runtime environment, we mean that VB.NET provides a platform to develop and execute our software and programs. Services and libraries are provided for developing our software more easily. This is the diagram that explains that VB.NET is a platform independent and we can use multiple library services in it. Visual Studio is basically an IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. It means that we can develop softwares using many languages, for example, C#, VB.NET, J#. More than 19 languages can be used in .NET framework. It is a platform independent. That means the software can be made for different operating systems such as Windows, Mac, Linux, also for Android, iOS, smart devices. This feature make it device independent. The next is .NET Framework Architecture. In the .NET Framework Architect, as you can see that in the topmost layer there is the multiple languages, then is the common language specification, that is the CLS, then is ASP.NET that provided web services and web forms, ADO.NET, data and XML, base class libraries, and common language runtime. Its description. On the top there are languages that are supported by .NET Framework. Whenever any software to be taken, we start with the language, that is first we have to select a language. Then is CLS. CLS stands for Common Language Specification. The languages are different from one another, so to provide them a common ground we use CLS. CLS defines the base rules necessary for any language for targeting common language infrastructure to interpret with other CLS compliant languages. For example, C# uses plus for concatenate, whereas VB.NET uses ampersand. CLS defines common rules which is followed by the compiler and bring to MSIL. Then is ASP.NET, web services and web forms. We can build softwares as well as web applications. So this layer is responsible for the various libraries that are used for development. Then is ADO.NET, that is data and XML. For database connectivity, this layer is used. This technology is used to develop applications to interact with databases such as Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server. Then is base class library. It is a collection of reusable types that are closely integrated with CLR. For example, input-output operators that are used again and again and are placed in base class library. It provides classes and types that are helpful in performing day-to-day operations. For example, input-output operations, database connections. CLR stands for Common Language Runtime. .NET Framework supports many languages. It converts the native code to MSIL, that is the Microsoft Intermediate Language. CLR stands for Common Language Runtime Environment, is the foundation of the .NET Framework, act as the execution engine for the .NET Framework. For example, like JVM helps in execution of the program in Java, likewise CLR in .NET. Manages the execution of programs and provides a suitable environment for the programs to run. It provides a multi-language execution environment. It converts the native code to the MSIL. It is the basic diagram for the compilation of the native, that is the source code to the native code, right? Every language has its own compiler. For example, C# has its own compiler like C# compiler. VB.NET has its own compiler. Likewise, every language has its own compiler. This compiled code goes to the CIL, that is the compiled code is basically the bytecode. The common intermediate language, that is the CIL, it is a bytecode and the language of the .NET platform into which compiled source code is written in high level language. Bytecode is the combination of MSIL plus metadata. In short, VB.NET, C Sharp and other languages compiler generate MSIL code. Compiling translates your source code into the MSIL and generates the required metadata. CLR includes JIT, just in time compiler. It converts the MSIL into the native code, which is the CPU specific code. Suppose we have F1, F2, F3 are the three functions where F2 is called, then JIT converts only the required code.